Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. How's everyone doing? We're going to be painting together today. I'm just going to get kind of set up. We've got about 4 minutes. And we're going to be doing little animals today. I've got a couple that I want to try to develop, and we're going to do that together. I'm thinking a chicken, some sort of a dog, and then I might let you guys choose between the last one because I've got a couple ideas. For this, you'll just need some paper, whatever paper you like to use, a brush of any sort, and your watercolors. Oh, and if you have a white gel pen, that will also help. Anybody doing anything fun today? I'm just going to start by taping off in my notebook some space so that I have my little slots. All right. We're going to go over here, and I'm just going to tape off 4 quadrants so that I can paint them. We'll probably do 3 today together. That's usually what we can achieve in the hour that we have together. I'm just using a typical washi tape. Also today, I'm going to try not to talk about any of the products that I'm using. We're just here to paint, but the good news is that there are lots of people in the audience who typically know about what I'm using, so you guys can chat amongst yourselves, but I don't feel like messing around with whatever TikTok wants me to do as far as products. Alright, just taping off. Ooh, this tape is not super sticky. This could become a problem, but we'll figure it out together. There we go. I've got my little quadrant taped off. We've got another minute before we really get started. Let me know while we're waiting, do you want to start with our dog or do you want to start with the chicken? One vote for chicken. Alright, I think we're going to start with the chicken. What color eyes do you think that the chicken should have? We're definitely going to do the red kind of wattle on it, so we might want to keep that in mind when we're selecting the color for the eyes. Yellow? Alright, let's do like a nice kind of muted yellow color. So I'm going to grab my watercolors and I'm going to give them a spritz so that they activate. If you're brand new to watercolor or brand new to any of my classes, my name's Lacey. I'm the artist behind Rebel Unicorn Crafts, and we paint together every other week on Saturdays. And today we're going to be doing these fun little animals, and we always spray our paints first because it activates them and gives us more exercise, or gives us more access to the colors. I'm going to mix this color up with a little extra water, so I'm going to take some of this color here, which is kind of similar to a yellow ochre-ish color, and I'm also going to tap into a little color that's kind of similar to a burnt sienna because I want kind of a more brownish golden yellow color. I'm gonna grab a little tester strip just so I can double check what color I have. Ooh, I got moogie hair in my brush. A nice light one. I think I'm gonna darken that color just a bit. While I'm mixing up this color, let me know, are you painting along today, or are you going to kind of watch and then paint later? Or are you just here to watch? Mixing those two colors together again, I'm just trying to increase the saturation of this color so that it is a little more, well, saturated. There we go, that's a little bit more. So there should be a recording that I will upload. It usually takes me a bit to get it done, but I am to upload it, but I do usually upload it. All right, so this is the color I'm going to start for the eyes, and we're going to place this here, and I'm going to make those 2 circles that are about 2 circles apart. Now I want to make sure I have enough space for the red bit on top of the chicken, so I'm going to do this a little bit further down. So I'm going to do that right around here. So I usually do these about 2 or 1.5 circles apart from each other. And I'm just making 2 circles. I think I want my chicken to be kind of that nice brownish golden color. I'm also going to make sure so that I don't have too much of that water in there. I'm going to tap my brush off so that I can suck up the excess that I have there. And that way, when I go to do this next step, it won't bleed quite as much. Yeah, you should join us in painting. We're gonna do a couple of these, so even if you're like, oh, I need a few minutes to prep, don't worry, you can catch up, or you can join in for the next one that we're going to do. We're starting with the chicken, and then I think we're going to do a dog afterwards. All right, I think I'm going to go for kind of this, I'm starting with this burnt sienna color, and then I'm going to grab this color that's kind of close to burnt umber and mix that in because I want kind of this brownish golden color. Let's just double check that color. Where's my little tester strip? Whenever I have extra paper that I'm cutting up or that I've kind of been experimenting on, I always cut it up and then create little tester strips so I can always check. All right, I'm going to make that a little bit darker with those 2 colors. There we go. Something like that. I might even drop in some other colors as we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by outlining the insides of those circles we made. We're trying not to touch those circles because we don't want them to bleed together. If you're really nervous about that, you can always dry them before going on this step. Then we're just going to fill in this area in between. We're going to bring this out to the sides of the eyes, and then we're going to come up for kind of a little cap. Fill that area in. And I'm just filling in all those outlines I made. Underneath the eyes, I'm going to swoop out a little bit for kind of the little cheeks of the chicken, I suppose. And again, I'm filling this area in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I want there to be some red under here, I'm going to skip for just a second and I'm going to go down underneath here. And I'm going to make just some little strokes. This is part of his neck. Then I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to, with water in my brush, just kind of connect these. We're going to go over in another layer where we're going to add that red in, but I want to be able to layer over this. I'm also going to lift out just a little bit from here because again we're going to add in kind of that red wattle right here. Just to kind of help give us a leg up. If you wanted to at this point, you could grab some more concentrated color and you could just drop it in a couple different spots to maybe give it a little more texture, kind of like how, you know, birds have feathers, and I don't want to paint every single feather, but maybe we could add in a little texture by just varying the color a little bit that will hopefully help us with the illusion towards the end of the painting. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to dry this before we move on to the next stage. So TikTok usually does a pretty good job of muting the sound or reducing the volume, but I am going to give you a little warning in case you need to. You can turn the volume down for probably about 30 seconds, and that's going to happen in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. That should be nice and dry. Now I'm going to start by adding in the red on the chicken, which is on the top of their head and then also kind of under their chin. And for this, I want it to be a pretty nice bright color. I'm going to put a little water in my brush and tap it here. And then I'm going to mix up these 2 red colors together. If we wanted to, we could grab a little brown if we wanted to kind of tone this down just a little bit. So I've got 3 colors mixed together. Kind of a vermilion type color, a middle red, and then just a tiny bit of some brown. Let's double check that on my tester strip. When your exams are over, you're going to do all the animals. How fun! When I was in school, yeah, as soon as I was done with all my finals and things like that, I would read like 3 books and then do some artwork because, you know, you don't have time while you're doing all the school stuff. Just tried to add a little more color there. Maybe I got a little more. Let's try a little bit more. I want this part to be pretty concentrated and a little darker, so I am going to grab a little more of that brown. And let's check that out and see if that's the color I wanted. There we go. Yes, that's the color I wanted. So for this top part, I'm just going to take my brush and kind of scribble. I'm just going to scribble like that. And I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to let it be how it is. Going to do kind of the same thing for under the neck. Just kind of scribbling. There we go. Just letting it be and trying not to overthink it. I'm going to wash my brush, and now I'm going to grab a black color because we need to add in the pupils and we also need to add in the beak. I'm just trying to get a pretty concentrated color in my brush, so I'm swirling it around and then moving it on my palette here. Now I'm going to make 2 smaller circles within those initial circles, leaving a little bit of that color so that we can kind of see the difference between the eye and then the pupil. One and 2. There we go. Now we need to add in the beak. And for the beak, we're going to start by making kind of a upside down smiley face, or like a mustache almost. It's going to come in from the sides, and then it will dip down in the front, and then we can just fill that in. Now, what do we think? Should we add a background to this one? And if so, what color should we do? Also, if you're just joining, I am avoiding talking about what I'm using. You guys can chat amongst yourselves in the comments, but last week TikTok gave me like age restrictions because I was talking about the products I was using. So we're avoiding that today. A blue background. We've also got some greens. What about blue and green in the background? Blue to green. All right, let's try that. We'll kind of do a little more blues on the tops and greens on the bottom. Again, before I do that, I'm going to dry this because I don't want, these are pretty much dry, but they are still a little wet and I don't want the blue or the green to go into the red. So I am going to dry this for probably about 15 to 20 seconds. If you're sensitive to loud noises, you might want to turn your sound down in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. Got it. All right, so the way I do backgrounds is mine are going to be really kind of flowy together with a bunch of different colors. Since we're going to start with our blue, I would rather the blue bled into the green than the green bled into the blue. So I'm going to start with blue at the top, and in order to do that, I'm going to turn my paper to this side so that I have easier access to it. All right, I've resprayed my colors and I've just got a really nice wet brush and I'm just going to be tapping into these, putting a little water in my brush, and I'm going to go between a couple colors, dipping into them, and I'm kind of touching some areas it's going to touch, some areas it's not going to touch. I'm trying not to overthink this part too much. Really, that's the key to watercolor, is don't overthink it, which is, I know, easier said than done. But I like to build in a little bit of variation. These colors are fairly similar, but they are different. And by doing that, then, you know, it's okay if things aren't quite perfect because we're intentionally adding in those colors that are differing. All right, at this point, what I'm going to do is just refill my brush with some water so we can kind of lighten this before I start dipping into kind of a teal color. To transition, and then now I can start dipping in to more of a green, and a little more green. Woo, I got a lot more green there. Let's just scribble that out. Ooh, I like it. This one is so cute so far. The last detail I always like to add in is bringing in my white gel pen, and I'm going to outline everything, but again, I need to let it dry or make it dry. So if you are sensitive to those loud noises or worried about, you know, waking a sleeping baby or something, you're going to want to turn your volume down for about 30 seconds in 3, 2, and 1. Yeah, most of these are a trust the process thing, because you're like, I'm just making blobs of stuff and shapes, and you know what? They usually turn out pretty cute. All right, so I'm going to just outline everything, and I'm going to kind of do this a little lazily, where I just kind of scribble. But I like outlining these because we can kind of round off any parts that weren't quite perfect. We can also do things like add in these little highlights, which sometimes makes them really cute and sometimes it makes them look a little suspicious, but I think that's kind of fun. Each one of these seems to develop their own personality, and I really like that. You could, if you wanted to, make things more complicated. You can always come in and you could maybe even allude to some of the feather shapes when you were doing this part of the step, but you don't have to. And I'm just going to kind of add in a couple little squiggles along here because this part usually has quite a bit of texture. I really like this one. This one turned out even cuter than I thought it was going to. All right, we're gonna try the next one. I got a suggestion to do a pug. Now, when I drew the pug, it looks more like a boxer, and I think boxers are really cute. So we're gonna do a boxer. Because I was trying to do the pug, but when you bring the eyes out to the side, it really does look more like a boxer to me. So that's what we're gonna be going for on this one. So if you're just joining, you still have time to join in because we're going to start a whole new one. We just finished the chicken. Oh, we got to name him. We got to name the chicken first while we're waiting for to start the next one. What should our chicken's name be? I don't know why, but Henry comes to mind for me. Oh, I like Goose though too. That's cute. Louise. I also like Bruce. Wilson is also good. Or Chuck. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think somebody said Walter. And I like that one. All right, I'm choosing Walter. I think that was a suggestion. I'm just going to name him. All right, so we're going to paint our boxer now. And for this one, usually we can go with whatever. These are little cartoon animals. So we could choose to do their eyes with like a purple or something. I mean, usually dogs have kind of this beautiful golden color for their eyes or a beautiful dark brown color. Should we go for kind of the natural colors or should we make it fun in like blue or purple eyes? Am I selling these? These are just in my sketchbook. We're just doing a live watercolor class today. Oh, I think we're split. I think I am going to go with the purple. I like the purple idea. Obviously, if you're following along, you can change this to whatever you want to do. So if you are like, no, I want mine to be natural, go for natural. That's the beauty of this little class is you can make different decisions than me. All right, so washing my brush, I'm gonna grab some light purple color. I do want this to be a pretty light color, so I don't know if I'm gonna put that much in my brush, and I think something like that is gonna be perfect. All right, so we're gonna do, this one is wider than it is tall, so I can actually put this up a little bit higher if I wanted to than this one. I don't have to account for quite as much room on the top. So I am going to start with these two circles that are about 2 circles apart from each other. With this purple color. His ears might end up going off the page a little bit, and that's okay. All right, mine are not nearly the same size, but that's okay. He's gonna be a little bit silly. All right, I've dried my brush off. I'm gonna just tap in and grab a little bit of that color so that it's not gonna bleed so much. And now we're going to modify, I think I want it to be a darker brown color, so I'm going to modify my brown. We're painting a little boxer here. I'm grabbing my darker brown color, which is kind of like a burnt umber color. Let me check that. And then what I'm actually going to do to make this brown even darker, I'm going to wash my brush, tap it off so it's dry, and then I'm actually going to grab a little blue in my brush. Oh, I need a little more than that. And I'm going to mix that in. which should darken that color a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Or we're kind of muting it and making it a little more gray, but that's the color that I want. Okay, so for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to start by, again, we're outlining the insides of the eyes. We're trying not to touch them. If you do touch them, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. All right, we're just going to fill in between them. And then I'm going to kind of bring this up to like about here. We're going to add in the ears in this step too, but I think I want them to be more of a black color. So we'll add them in just a minute. So we've got kind of this weird little cutoff shape at the top. We're going to bring this down a bit straight. Hopefully this will look remotely like my drawing. And then we're going to kind of bump it out, which this is going to look real goofy until we come in with our second layer. We're going to fill this in. I'm going to refill my brush because I'm starting to run out a little bit. And then I'm going to leave a little space under for the neck, and we'll just give them a real kind of long neck. This tape does not stay down. All right, I'm also going to do a little shadowing under the neck by grabbing a little bit of that kind of black that's on my palette, and I'm just going to drop that right down here. I'm going to grab a little more of that black in my brush, and then let's add in those ears. So they're going to kind of come up a little bit, and then they're going to come down to kind of a point right by the eye. This might just be kind of a generic dog, actually. We're gonna find out how much like the drawing this ends up actually looking. Just grabbing a little more of that black. I want this to be a little darker. For some reason I wanted his ears to be a slightly darker color. There we go. The other thing I'm going to do is they do have a few little wrinkles kind of on their head typically, so I'm going to wash my brush, dry it off, and then I'm going to come in while things are still a little wet, and I'm going to lift out a couple little like wrinkles that will hopefully stay. We'll at least have a little texture that we can kind of enhance with the white gel pen once we're done. I'm going to soften this out for some reason, even though I'm going to cover that. Okay, so now for us to do our next step, which we're going to add in some more, I'm going to add in a darker brown color to really kind of bring that nose area forward a bit. I do need to dry this, so if you're sensitive to loud noises, this is going to get noisy for just a minute, and that will happen in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. This tape is paper tape, but yeah, for some reason it just does not have much stick to it. That's okay. All right, so what I want to do is I want this to be a darker brown with some of that black, so I'm just going to mix in, I probably should respray this color because it's sat for a bit. I want it to be a slightly darker color, so I'm just adding in a little black to there. There we go. And then we're going to come up here, so it kind of goes up. And then I think I actually want this to go out a little bit more so I can kind of modify, and I want it to be a little bit rounder towards the bottom. I should have mixed up more of this color. This is going to be kind of a dry version. It's okay, because we're going to be drawing on the top of this. So we can come in and kind of correct. But normally you'd want a little bit more color in your brush to make this a little bit smoother. This guy is going to look real goofy, but I do think that the pen details are going to bring this back around. So we're gonna have a trust the process moment. All right, I'm gonna grab some just of that black color, and then we're gonna make the pupils. So making 2 smaller circles inside the initial circles. The pupils, he already looks cuter already. Whoop, made that one a little bigger, so let's make this one just a bit bigger. There we go. What color do we think we should do for the background? I don't know why, but like bright pink sounds fun to me. But I'm open to other suggestions. Ooh, an orangey yellow could be pretty too with this. Pink. Let's do pinks and oranges. I like both of those suggestions. So again, I like to kind of move my paper as I work around a background just to make it a little easier on myself. Putting lots of water in my brush to start. And let's add that in. Then I'm gonna dip straight into that orange. We're gonna have lots of fun colors here. I'm gonna dip straight back into that pink. I'm just trying to outline. Let's go back into that orange. Need to put a little more water in my brush so I don't run out. A little more orange and a little more pink. And we're moving around the shape. And I'm just kind of switching between colors so that it has a little fun variation. Nice bright background to kind of brighten up the otherwise brown type painting. All right, again, I'm going to be adding in white pen details, but I need to dry this first. So if you are sensitive to loud noises, you're going to want to turn your volume down for probably about 30 seconds in 3, 2, and 1. So somebody asked about a nose, and you could come in and add in another like black detail here, but a lot of times I like to leave all the details like that to the white gel pen, so we'll add that in just a second. I always like to outline things. Just to give them a little more pop. And I'm actually going to give him a couple little bumps on his head, because this was meant to kind of be a boxer, and they have little kind of worry lines, kind of, sometimes. Add in their highlights. round any of those corners. I'm going to go around his mouth and snout area. And then this is where we're going to start to add in some of those other details, like his mouth would kind of go like this, because he would have, under here would be where he'd actually have these little like whiskers. They usually have little whiskers on their chins. And then we would have kind of a nose. I usually start with like 2 of these outlines, and then we can kind of come down in, and they have a little bit of a... He's kind of goofy looking, but a lot of boxers are. Just adding in a little bit of a nose. I'm not even sure he looks like a boxer anymore, but he's cute. And then we can always add in some little whiskers if we want to. Alright, he's just kind of a general dog, but I really like him. He kind of looks like a boxer. Alright, what should we name this one? George with a J, I like that. Or Boris, oh, Boris might be it. I feel like I've known a boxer named Buster. I've also known one named Steve, which was awesome. Oh, there are so many suggestions on this one. And I'm still stuck on Boris for some reason. Oh, man. Kevin's also pretty good. Alright. I'm kind of feeling Kevin. Alright, Kevin it is. It was close for Boris, almost made it. Boris would wear, Boris would be a little, yeah, a little sophisticated, I think. Alright, so for our last one, we're going to do one more together today. And I did a little sketching. Both of these need a little more work, but we could either do a dinosaur or a reptile-esque, or maybe something like a mouse with big ears. What would you guys rather see? The dinosaur or the mouse with big ears? Oh no, we're gonna be split. I think Dino is... Okay, alright, we're gonna do the dinosaur. Most of these will probably make an appearance in my little short form videos in the future, so if we don't see it today, it's okay. It will come eventually. Alright, we're gonna try to do the dinosaur. He obviously needs to be, I want him to be green. I want the dinosaur to be green, but I don't know what color eyes I want him to have. What do you guys think for eyes? Purple dinosaur could be cute, but then that's very Barney-esque to me. Purple eyes could be good. Pink eyes could be really cute too with the green. Or blue eyes could be cute. I think it also kind of depends on the mood we're going for. If we want him to be sweet, I do think that blue could be cute, and I want him to be sweet. So let's go with blue eyes. All right, so we're going to get a nice light blue color. I'm just going to tap my brush in there. Again, let's get this little tester strip. Something like that will be perfect. And we're going to make these 2 eyes, or 2 circles that are about 1.5 to 2 circles apart from each other. So here's 1. I'm trying to make them nice circles, but you know, they are never quite perfect, and that's okay. We can always round those edges with that white gel pen, or we can just leave it because they're goofy. You know, these little animals are kind of goofy looking, and that's part of what makes them cute. All right, I sucked up a little of that extra water just so it's not gonna go too crazy. And then I actually need to spray out one of these wells. Let's see. We're not gonna use any red on this one, so I'm just going to put a little water in there and then I can just wipe that out. We're going to do some greens. I want kind of a base green color, but I think I'm going to drop in some different greens and yellows just to give them a little bit of kind of a fun color. I do have some greens that are in my palette, but I kind of want to mix up my green because I have a kind of a color in mind. So I am going to put a little water, well, more than that. We ran out on that other one, so let's put a little more water here. And then I'm going to put some blue in, wash my brush, and then I'm going to grab some of this yellow because I think this is going to make a color that I have more in mind. We're close. I think I want it to be a little more yellow, but we're close. And I do think I'm going to start with kind of this lighter green color, and then we'll drop in some other colors to give him just a little bit of texture. Okay, so for this, we're going to outline the insides of the circles, trying not to touch them. This can be one of the harder parts if you're worried about touching the eyes and you don't want to. You can always dry the eyes before you do this part. And then I'm just going to fill in between. I'm going to come up here, right to kind of the middle, outer middle of the eye. We're going to give him a little cap, maybe a little bit taller. There we go. And I'm going to fill it in here. And then we will be adding in kind of a big circle. We're gonna do a second layer on this one, but it will come out right here. And this is that point where it's like it could look like so many things. It would make a great turtle right now, depending on what details you added. We're going for a dinosaur. But we're going to make kind of that big round shape under the eyes here. Before the top part dries, I'm going to tap into a different green, and let's just, right on the head is mainly where I'm going to put this. A little bit of yellow, and then let's do kind of a blue-green color. It won't matter here because we're going to cover that part, but I'm just trying to give him a little extra color, just to make it a little more fun. You don't have to do this part, but I feel like doing it. Then we're going to come underneath. I'm going to leave a little space, and I'm going to give him a pretty thin neck. This is a little bit of an imagination dinosaur because he could be one of any number of dinosaurs, because we're also going to add a couple little spikes. So maybe he's a little dragon thing. Then I'm going to take some of that brown, and I'm just going to drop a little bit there, and then a little more of that green color. I'm trying to add a little bit of shadow under the chin. Okay. All right, we need to, again, let this dry or make this dry. So if you are sensitive to the loud noises, you're going to want to turn the volume down for probably about 30 seconds in 3, 2, and 1. we go. All right, so we need to do a couple different things. One, I want to darken this green a little bit. So I'm going to grab some more of that yellow. I'm just kind of bringing the saturation level up on that green that we just did. A little more blue. You can go with your pre-made colors. You don't have to make custom mixes for everything. I tend to like to make some of the custom mixes, so I do. So standard hair dryers do work for drying. You just need to be a little careful. They put out a lot more air, so make sure you don't have loose papers or way too many puddles because it will spray things everywhere, but they do work. All right, so I've got a slightly darker, it's just a tiny bit darker color. I'm gonna re-go over this part here, maybe even touching up to the eyes a little bit more. Covering this area. And then I'm going to add in some of those color variations. So at the top part of it, I think I'm going to add in some little speckles of some of that yellow. And then around the edges, I'm going to grab a little bit more blue in my brush and put a little bit here, just for fun. I'm also going to take some of that blue directly in my brush, mixing up kind of a custom blue, and then I think that's what I want to use for these little, we're going to give them some spikes. Just like that. I think that's cute. All right, I'm gonna dry this again because I still need to add in, well, actually no, I think I can do the pupils without touching. While I'm adding in the pupils, what color background should he have? So for the pupils, I just have black in my brush, and I'm gonna make 2 smaller circles within the initial circles, trying not to touch too far in so that we can still see some of the blue, and definitely so it's not running into that green. He's gonna be a funny looking dude. Purple is a good suggestion. If we do purple and yellow, in some areas it'll bleed together and be kind of a gray-black color, and I think I would like to do, let's do purples and pinks, because the pink will look really good with the green, but I also love the idea of the purple, so I'll try to do a little bit of both. But before I do that, again, I'm going to make this dry. If you're sensitive to loud noises, again, this is our last time today, but you'll need to turn your volume down for about 30 seconds in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. All right, I'm gonna respray my colors because I wanna make sure that there is enough water in especially my purple and my pink colors. Put some water in my brush, and then we're just gonna start to kind of paint. I'm gonna drop into some different colors as I go along here, maybe even a little more blue just to kind of tone down that purple in a couple areas. And then in other areas, really brighten it by grabbing some of that bright pink color. Again, I'm going to kind of twist this around. Normally, I would probably pick this up and be holding this in a specific way, but I'm trying to make sure it stays in frame, which presents its own challenges. I'm going to put a little more blue in there. Ooh, a lot more blue. Let's fix that with a little pink. Scribble that around. Let's go a lot more pink over here. We could also drop in some texture if we wanted to. A little more purple. Too much. That one's too wet. But that's okay, because I wanted some variation, so I'm getting it. Oh, also, apparently I lied, because that is not the last time we were going to dry, because I do have to dry before I add in the white pen details, which we're going to do now. So, sorry about that. But yeah, if you're sensitive to loud noises, this is the final time for today's. We're going to have this on for about 30 seconds, and that will start in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. Is it possible to paint hydrangeas with watercolor? Seems difficult. It would be difficult, but it is possible. It's that is one of those flowers that I would probably take a really abstracted approach to, or maybe not paint, because for me that doesn't sound too fun. But that's just me. All right, so I'm gonna outline everything with this pen. I mean, it's possible to paint anything with watercolor, and you can do all sorts of styles. You can do more abstracted stuff. You can paint realism with watercolor. It just really depends on what you like and how much patience you have. I think I'm going to give him a couple little spikes over his eyes. I don't know why, but I feel like he needed it. And then his nose, I'm going to add in, he is kind of like a dragon, you know? And then we'll give him a little smile. I feel like I'm going to give him a little smirk on one side so he's a little mischievous. Should he have a little tooth sticking out too? I don't know why, but I feel like one little like tooth sticking out could be cute. Let's try it. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Just one, kind of like he's got his lip up just a bit. All right, what's his name? I feel like he could also, he's a little bit punk. I feel like we could add in like an eyebrow ring or something. I do like Dennis. I think Dennis would be a good one. All right, I'm going with Dennis. I liked it. I like it. Hee. All right. Okay, I really like all of these. I do think the chicken might be my favorite out of them. What's your guys' favorite of the bunch? The pup? He is pretty cute too. I do really like all of these. Well, I hope you guys had fun creating these, and I hope if you paint them later, you also have fun doing it. I will be eventually reposting this. It'll go on YouTube, and or it'll be on Patreon, which I rehost all of my lives and things like that ad-free over there, so that patrons don't have to sit through ads and things like that. All right, I hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful day. I'm going to sign off and go make myself some lunch. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And this is going to be the only live, by the way, for June. I'm going to be not available towards the end of the month, so we'll just have to reconvene in July. But the good news is July is World Watercolor Month, so we'll be doing tons of watercolor stuff. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you guys soonish.